So just a quick demo on ImageSharp and media, because ImageSharp we have released a manufacturer over the weekend. So there's a bunch of new features that that came through with that, and we'd like to take advantage of them. So there's a couple of new features here. First off, we made it a whole load faster, so thanks Sebastian for doing a whole load of benchmarking on it. But the middleware itself is now a lot faster, which is great. And
did you experience it? Did you see the difference?
I actually have, because I do most of my work with or testing with blob storage, and the agency page, when it renders for the first time, has a lot of images on it, and it just comes through a bit faster. It's good.
So the idea is that when James wanted to release the RC of ImageSharp, he wanted just to check the performance, just as a check before releasing. So I met with him, and during 1 hour we defined the benchmark and we ran it, because that's what I do in the ASP.NET team. I run benchmarks, so it was easy. And he already had a sample app that was working, so we just had to tweak something in there and it was working. And we realized that under load, it could generate, well, it could serve 2,000 images per second. It was just a sample image, a resized image already cached, right? 2,000 per second. But if we were pointing to a static file, it would be like 50,000 per second. So the cost of serving a pre-resized file was huge, 2,000 versus 50,000. And then he worked on some different logs, and then Dean helped him to find the reason of the logs by removing the logs. And now we are at 60,000 requests per second, meaning 60,000 files served per second, which is the limit of the file system, actually. So the throughput is the file system. The network is the bottleneck is the file system. So that's good. So and also the latency is much better. Like instead of having an average of 100 millisecond latency, it's like now less than 1 millisecond latency. That's huge. So the perf under load, actually, or under multiple requests at the same time, you should see the difference. The server will see the difference, at least, maybe not you, but the server will see it. So that's great.
Yeah, and it's important as well, because we've done some analysis on the amount of static files our servers serve, and when we're serving a kind of just general Orchard core website, you know, about 75% of the traffic is taken up with serving media files rather than the content, because content is so image heavy these days. So we made it faster. There's a new feature as well to support quality support on JPEG encoding, which means you can reduce, during the resizing process, you can specify a compression percentage, which will allow you to just kind of tweak the quality a little bit and reduce the file sizes. And in order to take advantage of that, you have to use the JPEG encoder. So you can also now convert, say, a PNG file to a JPEG automatically by specifying that you want a JPEG format out.
So I don't get it. Before that, if your image was a JPEG, the output was a JPEG, you could not convert it?
We didn't have support. The support was there in ImageSharp, but we actually just didn't have support in the our tag helpers to support that command.
But the file name will be PNG, but you can serve a JPEG content with the correct MIME type. That's what you say?
Yeah. So the content comes back correctly as a image-JPEG, but the file name, because of course it's not a redirect.
Because the file itself is speaking the same extension as the source file. And I assume it's a limitation from ImageSharp, because ideally you could be able to say, well, create a file with this extension, right?
You could, but you'd then have to do a redirect to that file name. So you'd actually have to send a redirect back to the browser.
Oh, I don't agree.
Because the browser has requested a .jpeg file.
No, I don't agree because I see.
So, for example, if we were to look at
Right.
the source file here.
Yeah, unless you actually request a file that doesn't exist, and just the query arguments will tell it what's the actual file that is converting. But okay, that's just.
Yeah, you could do that. It becomes a little bit weirdness, but because it gets returned with the correct line type, the browser handles it essentially. There was a change to the culture settings so that you can now use current culture for the commands. I've not brought that through to Orchard because mostly that was around using things like pi in, say, a French language where the decimal places are using commas. But because most of our resizing and processing is based on templates, which are culture invariant, I'm not seeing a huge benefit for that one. But it was one of the breaking changes. So I did that, and then I've been working on a site recently and found that if we look at this, there's a bit too many things that you have to specify on your image tag now. And I thought I might just do a little media profiles.
Profiles.
Profiles. Currently at the moment I have probably 3 or 4, maybe 4 or 5 shapes for the media field, which tend to have, and I add some alternates in. I have one for the banner, I have one for a kind of medium-sized image, I have one for a small image.
So do you remember what we said about profiles, if they were good and we'll do it later, or if we said they were bad and we will not do it?
I don't remember, but I found a comment somewhere that
it was definitely good to have.
No, we don't ask for your opinion, Soteris. We're just asking what's the actual truth. Like I know when we created the media feature, because we have it in Orchard 1, and it's beautiful, and it's even much more powerful in Orchard 1 because you can do filters and stuff. It's crazy. So it's too crazy actually. So I assume here is just simple profiles based on ImageSharp.
So here it's simple profiles, and I actually did them because I've been fighting with this a little bit, and I did find a little comment that we might still have profiles. So the profiles I built are quite simple. They just have the standard kind of resizing options that we have with ImageSharp, and it means that in your templates, if I find the template for...
Ooh, and you can only pick the width and height that are supported.
Exactly, which just makes it easier. And one of the problems that I have is I'm often developing the start of a website off a wireframe. So all I have is a hint that I'm going to need an image that might be kind of around this big. But by the time the designs come through, the designs change it and suddenly it's this big. So it's a lot more useful if I can define my templates up front and say, just use this medium-ish profile, and then later on I can just go through and tweak it and say, well, actually that needs to be 600 wide, not 480. Or I can add in some more specific sizes to fit a kind of 16:9 or a 4:3 type ratio. So the idea is you could just go in and as an option, just say, that's going to be a medium-sized image. And I've left it able to then continue passing extra parameters if you want to tweak that image, particularly in that particular place. For example, on this template, we use a stretch mode on these ones with the same size, and on somewhere else down here. We use the max mode because they're a slightly different shape, essentially.
Sorry, I was not focusing on what your demo. So there is the resize URL filter, and then there is this profile property is new.
Profile property is new.
And the mode is the old one, so you can override a profile. That's what you're saying?
So you can override a profile, or you can override a property in a profile.
Thank you.
Or
That's
you
what
can,
I didn't get. Okay.
Yeah, or you can decide, for example, that you're not going to set a resize mode, and you'll always choose to add it or not, fall back to the default. So none of these properties are required as such, but if they're present,
okay.
You know, if you don't specify a width, you don't get a width.
But ImageSharp always has a default for everything here, right? So why not just put the ImageSharp default as the default?
So the only one that we actually have as a default is a resize mode of max. Nothing else in ImageSharp actually has a default. If you specify a width, then you get a width. If you don't specify a width, that just bases it off the height.
So I will rename undefined by default, and in parentheses the value that it will use.
Yeah, we could do that. That makes
because then, otherwise it's like, so what will it take? And if I select undefined, but you can say, yeah, default. Yeah, I would prefer that to say default, and the default value that will be taken. So,
I mean, at the moment, this is just out of the an enum. So to add a few more details to it makes sense. So all this does when you actually render it at the moment, if we look at the agency theme, which is just easier to see. You see on this one here, just as an example, I've dropped the quality really low.
100 is low. Okay, that's not obvious. We need more hints. For me, like 100 will be like 100%, like super top quality.
Okay, we can add some more hints there. Right, yep, that's the 10, cool. Here's the window. Yeah, so we can add some more hints, and I need to put in a comment that if you put it to 0 or 100, then it's not going to do anything, because 100 it won't process it, and 0 is just, it's not going to produce an image. So it gets ignored. But I'm not sure how well
quality only works with JPEG, right?
Quality only works with JPEG at the moment. You know, I know the ImageSharp guys are also working on supporting other formats, WebP and the like, which will be good. I'm not sure how well you'll see that on Skype, just how low the quality is. Yeah, but trust me, when it's pretty bad.
We're not using Skype, that's okay. We're using Teams.
Oh wow, Teams. Maybe Teams has got good quality. But if we set that to say a 50, and I have to clear this cache. Then you've reduced the image, the size quite a lot, and the quality is pretty good. Like the quality is reasonable. There's just nothing about that you wouldn't like. I popped the same thing on the blog theme here, and this background image here has dropped from 1 meg to 260K or something. So I've set a size on it and dropped the quality just a little bit.
Right.
So all this will do at the moment is it's not tied as such to ImageSharp. It just converts the profile into a good query string. Like normally, or not normally, but back in Orchard 1 we had this, it would be more /profile and the profile name and an identifier to identify it.
That's good.
but I think this is better because this means we can do the overrides easier.
And then if you change the value, the URL should change, so the cache should work actually.
Exactly. So that breaks the cache, which just makes it
yeah, it makes sense.
Nice and simple and easy. Yeah, so that's just a little feature that I was thinking.
And Soteris agrees, and Soteris know a thing or two about big websites with lots of images. So that's good.
Excellent. It just makes things a little bit easier.
Awesome.
To kind of manage this.
Perfect. Thank you.
And
I like the style.
Thing...
I like the style, like simple list, title, description, edit button, beautiful, right?
Easy. It's a consistent style, isn't it?
Yeah.
So sorry, JT, that's another one that'll need a distributed cache.
No, well, actually, why? No, I don't. I kind of not agree a lot with that, because each instance has its own local cache by default, and that's fine. Yes, we can implement a distributed cache for that, but I don't think it's necessary at all. It's a niche feature, I think. Updating the cache, like clearing the cache, yes.
Clearing the cache is probably the better point. Because yeah, a cache like this will remain on the local host, and it's only just about clearing it on the other ones. Cool. The one last thing that I'm probably going to add to this PR as well, if we agree on all the design stuff, which is good, is probably just to extend this image tag helper to handle source sets, because I'm needing to do a bit of source sets at the moment, and.
So this tag helper or a different one?
It will probably be a new tag helper. I might base class it, but it just needs to handle a different target, or I may be able to get away with just.
And why do we need a different tag helper and not just type the HTML and the source set will point to a different image? Oh, I see, because the tag itself needs to be different. I see. Because
the tag, it's not the target element so much as the tag that we write to. But that's mine. I'll sort that out. I think we'll do a little base class or something for them so that we can make it easy.
Or do you really need a base class, or do you just need to go at the top in the attributes? Can't you just trigger it with the img tag or the source set tag and be done?
I can, but down here when we write to it, we're setting specific attributes, so it's a little bit messy to know which attribute you came in on.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if you know that it's the source set tag, then you don't need that.
Well, the attribute we need to set there is the source set.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you can just check what is the current tag source set, then we'll see. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I.
It just gets a little messy, so just keeping it clean in the code, not too many ifs.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you. Awesome.